So yeah, it's cool watching something and expecting it to be good and it being good, but woo, that was good. Yeah. Um so yeah, I watched She-Ra, the first 3 seasons, which I mean really it's the first 2 seasons because I don't know what happened production wise, but seasons 2 and 3 are 100% like written as the same season. But I'm halfway through the show either way. Uh and it was good. Like, definitely one of the shows that's more like LGBTQ leaning, like, Steven Universe or Owl House, modern cartoon stuff. But it's good, and I liked it. It's also a remake or of a fucking the old She-Ra show, apparently. Like, actually, I need to check something. Okay, I checked it, and I was right. But yeah, so yeah, it's a cool fantasy show where a lady turns into a bigger lady, but with a sword. Also rebellion versus evil, conquering armies, and cool. I don't know. I like the aesthetic and the color palette is. It's just nice to look at, and good voice performances as well. Like, I definitely like. Like, I like Adora, the main character. She's got some good stuff going on, and like she just has some line delivery that just like really captures just the she's still a fucking teenager. Like in the second episode she gets dressed up as like this guy's with a flower on her head, and she says like, I don't like it. And I thought that was funny, just the way the line was delivered. And so I looked up who the voice actress was, and it was Amy Carrera, who I know from Critical Role. She was in Exandria Unlimited, and I was like, oh, I know this person. But yeah, it's like funny. I guess Adora is one of the least on the nose names because like since it's based off an old show that was made to sell toys and is probably really made to be really condescending towards children because children are fucking stupid. Like all the names are just the most like on point, like direct things you could think of. Like, okay, who's the princess of the Sparkly Kingdom? Glimmer. Okay, there's a dude named Bo. What weapon does he use? A bow. Adora? She's adorable. Okay, that's not true. Well, it is true, but it's not like, I don't know. Catra. She's a cat. um, it's so funny. But yeah, I was, I was aware from some friends of mine that the show seemed good, and they liked it a lot, and I watched it, and I was like, wow, this is a good show. And then it got better, and apparently in seasons 4 and 5 it gets even better. So I'm looking forward to that. Like, it already kind of like once it gets to like the season 3 stuff, it already starts going. It goes places. And it's just a cool action cartoon. Still very much like a children's, like made to be accessible to children. Like, there's not like, even though, the main character wields a sword, it's not like, people get seriously hurt, or like she's not cutting people in half. Robots are different, and, tanks and stuff. Like there's explosions, but, acceptable levels of violence. And yeah, I mentioned LGBTQ, leaning, like, one character has 2 dads, and just stuff like that. It's like whatever. It's fine. And I mean, it's not something I would mind. And if anything, I prefer. I like seeing different kinds of representation. But yeah, it's there, and some people will be bothered by that because they're cringe. But yeah, as far as more non-spoiler stuff, like it's definitely like, okay, there's like these guys are the obvious bad guys and these guys are the obvious good guys, but even that is sort of played around with just because like the main character starts on like she's part of the Horde and she thinks that they're doing a good thing in fighting the evil princesses, and then she actually goes on her missions, and hey, the world isn't the way she thought it was, and so she ends up defecting. And they end up explore that because she was, her effective adoptive sister Catra still is on the Horde side and is, bitter and betrayed that Adora left. And, like that's like the thing about the Horde is that like they're all. It's definitely like, are we the baddies kind of thing, because it's like they're part of the evil Horde. They live in the Fright Zone. One Shadow Weaver is totally like, yeah, that's a, and just because again, children's show, all the names are so on the nose, right? Like, But even then, like with the actual characters within the Horde, like they're not necessarily good people. Shadow Weaver in particular is pretty horrible. But like they're still made to be understandable. Like Hordak, the leader, and like there's camaraderie in their ranks, and that's part of why Katra is so bitter about Adora leaving, is because they were basically sisters, and she left. They were in this together, but she gave up, and Katra's got other things going on for sure. But yeah, it's nice, and I don't think I have much more to say without spoiling it. But I just like the way that the conflict works out and some of the ideas that are explored, and it's good, solid writing, and yeah. So yeah, moving into spoiler like territory, the words. Katra is definitely like, I'd say, a standout from the show. Like she's definitely the one that I feel like has gotten a lot of discussion, and it's just like as they were introducing her, I felt like, okay, she's gonna get a redemption arc, right? Because she's fighting against Adora, and then we find out about her hangups with Shadow Weaver was basically their mom, and like Adora was the obvious favorite, and Katra was sort of like toxically pushed aside, and she explains it that she wanted Katra to surpass her and do better, but also Katra's become desperate for recognition and affection, and Adora keeps getting it, and Katra gets nothing, and even when she does get something, it's immediately like taken from her, or shown to be set. After Shadow Weaver leaves, Hordak recognize her, rises her, but then Entrapta becomes his lab partner, and then suddenly Katra is secondary, and she doesn't matter, and like she just can't, and the only person who does care about her, Scorpia, she doesn't recognize her at all, and just like she's not a person, she hasn't had to earn in her mind any of the recognition, so it doesn't have value to her, and just like the way she just keeps going deeper, like I'm like waiting for this redemption arc to happen, but instead she's just continuing to dig her hole and just do worse and worse things, and it's like, no, you dumb cat, someone save the cat. She's just keeps making mistakes and blaming other people because she's accepted these toxic behaviors that Hordak and Shadow Weaver display. Like we get more about Hordak, and he's literally just like Katra. He's also desperate for recognition after being dismissed as a hopeless failure, and so he's made an army that will conquer all of Eternia, and nice going. And they're both just making these horrid world-ending mistakes. Like Katra will literally break the world because Adora is the favorite daughter and not her, and it's like, god damn it, it's good. And yeah, the thing I had to check earlier was Entrapta, because like I was confused because they introduced all these princesses, and there's like, okay, Frosta, she uses frost. Mermista, she's a mermaid. And Perfuma, she's flowers. Good smells, perfumes. All these all on the nose names. And then there's Entrapta. It's like, okay, like entrapment. That's a bad thing. Why is she one of the princesses? And then she gets left behind, and oh, yep, there it is. She's stuck with the bad guys now. So that's, and then I looked it up, and yeah, she, in the original series, Entrapta was just a villain. And here she was, with the good guys at first before, she's not like defecting necessarily. It's just like she thought she was betrayed. Katra manipulated her into thinking she was. And she's just kind of like a negligent scientist, like a shotgun wizard, where she's just like, oh boy, I keep losing all my shotguns. I better make more and just leave them around so that if I ever need a shotgun, it's right there. No sense of right and wrong. I'll work with the fascists who are trying to conquer everything because it's science, and I can advance my science and tech this way. She's not horribly amoral. Like, obviously, she's like sees Hordak like hurting, so she tries to help him. And she's like, wow, hey, doing more of these experiments will literally destroy the entire world. We should not do the experiments. And Katra's like, but what if I pulled this lever? And it's like, oh no. Oh, God. Speaking of the princesses, I've outside of like the main cast, obviously, like of the, the tertiary, secondary characters, not tertiary. I mean, I feel like I've been told I'm gonna get more of them, but I definitely noted how just like there's the gathering, the crew in the first season, and then the climax where in season 2 there was some stuff with them early on, like the strategy episode was really fun, where they're basically playing D&D, but also like they're just all stupid and they're coming up with their own narratives. Like Sierra was a funny one, and Frosta being chuny as fuck and coming up with this super dark, edgy like character. And of course, Bo doing the references to the old series or the visual where they all have their original outfits, but in the new style, it's just goofy bullshit. um, but I guess, I did like Frosta with her, like, cause, first we see her and she's kind of like, a hard ass because she's had this pressures, and then she beats Glimmer and she wants to be friends with Glimmer, and yeah, she has her chuny stuff, and like, yeah, I probably liked her stuff the most of what we've gotten. Bo also got some good stuff, like with his, I love, like, I mean, it's just good character stuff, and like the stuff with his midriff being like symbolic is also like, it's really funny, and just like in the fucking end of season 3 when they're in this perfect world where everyone's got what they want, and he's a scholar, so his 2 dads can be happy. And he just like when he realizes something wrong, he grabs the clothing covering his usually bare midriff, and he's like, something's wrong. And like that's when he realizes it. And even in that episode, he was also covered up. But then in the climax, when he needed to fight, he ripped his clothes so that his midriff could be showing. And then like that's it's his freedom, right? Like and he his. So it's just one of those things that's like, it's a goofy gag, but it's also meaningful, and I like that kind of thing. And fucking Shadow Weaver, like just the scene in episode season 2 where she's like, because I do think she does care about Catra, but like she still cares about Adora more, and like she's not apologizing for being shitty and toxic to Catra, because she still wants Catra to be better. And she's like Catra thought that, oh, you were just using me, where I think that Shadow Weaver was genuine, but like she also had to leave to go save Adora and help her, and where it's like Catra, so which ended up pushing Catra in the bad direction because this poor cat needs help. And Scorpia, again, the only person who'll recognize Catra, and she's just I love the way Matthews put it, where she's a male himbo, which there's already a word for that, but it's somehow perfect anyway. Or a female himbo, sorry, or female, yeah, I said that right. I hope so. But yeah, she's just a fucking dummy, and she just loves Catra and helps her, and is like, yeah, Catra, you're the best. And like, God, when they go to the Crimson Wastes, I like the one joke where it's like, Catra's like, why are you doing that thing where you wear your emotions on your face? And Scorpio's just like, do you mean smiling? But then like, yeah, she's even like, Catra's just, hey, I've never seen you like smile or laugh as long as I've known you, and here you're like legitimately happy after you've used your power to take over the Crimson Wastes and become the girl boss leader, and literally defeating Adora, getting the sword, just like literally at the best position she's ever been in her life. And Scorpion's like, hey, let's just live here, let them go, defeat the Horde, who cares, like you're happy here. This could be for the best. We just rule over the Crimson Wastes, says bosses, and everything's good. But Catra's like, oh, Shadow Weaver escaped, left me after showing affection to me to go to Adora, and she's like, no, fucking, oh, like the world just screwed her over, so she's just gonna burn down the world. And God, when she pulled the fucking lever and like lying about entrapped at a Hordak and just being so shitty because that's God, Catra's good. But yeah, and the finale was good with Angela, not Angela, who I know like 2 of at my work, but Angel, like, okay, yeah, there's the non, because she's got the wings on the nose names. But yeah, no, just like the stuff with her, and like thinking back is like, with her relationship with her daughter, and like, how it climaxes with her sacrifice in season 3, good stuff. And her cowardice that Glimmer, didn't have, and yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff, a lot of fun characters. Oh my God, I just was looking, I saw the word Horsonas in my notes, and I just remembered when fucking Swiftwind was like remembering all the other characters in one of the early episodes of season 2, but he remembers them as horses. Oh, what a goofy show. But yeah, I'm really excited for the rest and see where it goes in its next 2 seasons because it's already good. It's already a solid show, I would say. I already enjoy it. Uh, will it be one of my favorite cartoons of all time? I have no idea, but we'll see.